Oh, Joyce, I tell you, it's one of those things. If you think you can, you can.
Yep.
Think you can't, you can't.
100%.
Right either way. It's all that real estate in between the ears. So many people talk themselves out of so many situations that really can bless them.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are just afraid of success at times.
Well, this is the show because you'll get success.
Tell me what's good. Tell me what's nice. Keeping it cool, keeping it calm, keeping it light. Time to rejoice. What's good? What's good? What's good with John and Joyce?
I'd like to say a big thank you to all of our sponsors. Woodwinds Wedding and Special Events Venue and Silvio Sauces, thewoodwinds.com. Ascend Bank. They don't just see your accounts, they see your vision and ambitions. Ascend.bank. And we have a gentleman who's going to help you out here. He's become a really good friend over the past couple of years. He's got a book coming out real soon, but we were talking about that over a cup of coffee recently. It's all about mindset. Everything in this world is about mindset and just going out there and just using your gifts. But so many times we sabotage ourselves with our thinking, don't we?
Yeah.
And Joyce, you've written books in the past, one about abundance, and this gentleman has a book coming out soon. He's become, just like I said, just a real good guy, a mentor. And he is here. Let's make sure we can pronounce his name right. Rick Bayuk.
Got it.
Rick Bayuk. All right.
Rick.
Welcome to What's Good with John and Joyce. So what's good is you're here today. We're all here together. We're smiling. We're happy. And we're ready to have some fun with our viewers/listeners.
Now, so good to be here. Thanks for having me. It's good to finally meet you in
Yes,
person.
Finally to meet you. But I wanted to tell you, I went online and bought your book,
Oh, thank you.
but I did not see that it was a pre-order. So I've been waiting for it and waiting. And I went online to track it. And then it said pre-order.
And she was
It's like,
complaining about that. That darn Rick. I want to read his book.
That's what
no,
you're
because I
waiting for.
wanted to
Okay.
read your book before I
Yeah.
met you.
I could have snuck
because
you an
it's-
ebook if you let me.
Well, see, now you tell
I know.
me.
I know the authors.
No, but it was so intriguing. The transformation. Tell us the title of your book.
So it's 12 Steps to Transformation, and basically it's about kind of coming from a recovery mind to an empowerment mindset. Now, it was written for a certain demographic, but the principles are the same. It's about mindset and understanding that we have the power to do the things we want. We are truly the creators of our own lives. Most people don't understand that. They're controlled by their five senses. So at that point, they're most of the time controlled by the outside. So this book teaches people how to understand that you have the power, and then to take that power and use it to create whatever it is you really want.
And Rick, isn't it true that most people make decisions based on emotion and not pragmatism?
100%.
And that really gets us in trouble a lot of times?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's a powerful force, emotion.
It
So
is. It really
you have
is.
to really learn to keep that in check.
So do you know where that comes from? There's two parts of your mind. You have the conscious mind and your subconscious mind. Your conscious mind is your thinking mind, right? It's your intellectual mind. It's where you can accept the
And you
thought
don't use
and
much of
reject
that,
the
do
thought.
you? That's a very, very small
Okay,
percentage.
I'm getting to that. It is only, guess, how much do you think that we use of our conscious mind?
Joyce, ladies first.
Of our conscious mind?
Yeah.
I don't know, 10%.
I say 3 or 4%.
See, you know the answer. It's 3-4%. The subconscious mind, which is our emotional mind, that's where our emotions are, is 95 to 97% of our behavior is controlled by that. So it's exactly what you said. It's about emotion. And when we let our emotions control us, then that's where we start to go from there. But again, it's also about energy. We've spoke about that. It's a big part of that. And we are basically made of energy, right? Everything is energy, right? Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It just changes form.
We're all atoms, molecules, neutrons, all that.
So, but that energy, when you're having that negative emotion or you're having that negative energy, where is it going? It's going outwards. So it's about like attracts like. So when you have that negative energy, the universe just says to you, okay, looks like you want more of that. Let's give you more of
Yes.
that. But the problem is it's subconscious. We don't really know. And what this book teaches and what we're trying to get people to understand is it's about being aware of your thoughts at all times, aware of your thoughts, aware of your words. Your words are very powerful. And we are the creators of our own reality, really, if you want to get that deep into it. So it's important to be in control of that. And it starts with in controlling the emotions. It's a thing called emotional intelligence.
Yes.
So being in control of your emotions is a huge part. And that's simply, responding versus reacting. That's a big start. When I teach people and I talk to clients all the time, it's about responding versus reacting. Because
How many people do we allow to get into our head and it wrecks our day? So what's happening, Joyce? We've talked about this. You're giving them power over
Right.
you. You're making them an idol.
And then you begin mulling it over in your head,
Yes.
and it becomes huge.
It does.
exactly.
Which you could
The molehill becomes a mountain.
you need to flip the switch.
Yeah. So it's really important to get people to understand about that you are in control of your thinking, and it's way more than we realize.
Yes,
We're
yes.
given tools to do that, and most people don't use those tools. Those are our God-given abilities that no other animal in the animal kingdom has.
That's where your book comes in, because I've started reading an advanced copy, Joyce.
Oh.
I got an
Oh.
advanced copy because
look
I
at
know the
you.
author here.
Right.
Let's get her a copy before she really.
But you were
gets
talking
upset.
about paradigms before, which is just so important.
Yeah, so paradigms really is just a multitude of habits and behaviors that we have that we don't think, that happen to live in our, conscious mind, which become part of our subconscious mind, and we don't even think about it. The habits and behaviors that run our lives are automatic. We don't think about it. You don't think about breathing. You don't think about walking half the time you do it. You know where you're going, right? And the same thing is when you're in a car and you're driving along and suddenly you realize you're 3 exits further than you were, right? It's the same
Right.
thing. It's the automatic behavior. So the paradigms are what really control most of our thinking and our actions. So we tend to go back to those. They act like a thermostat, right? So when a thermostat is set at 70, somebody opens the door, it's cold outside, the house goes to 68, the thermostat brings it right back to 70. So think about your paradigms and those multitude of habits, it's the same thing. Because you might want to reach for something else, or you might want to do something else or be something else, but that thermostat's going to pull you right back. And those are those things that we teach people how to be aware of that and start to replace those. It's kind of like a software upgrade for your mind, right?
Yeah, get the virus out.
Yeah.
But a lot of our thoughts still come from when we were kids, like you said in your book, what we're told by our parents,
Right.
what we're told by our teachers, our friends, and we start thinking that way.
Yes.
Right, Joyce?
The greatest hypnotist in the world, because being a hypnotherapist, I've learned this, are who? It's your parents, it's your
Right.
teachers.
Yeah.
You learn at a very young age certain mindset, a certain habit. And so you talk about that because I know that's part of what you're.
Yeah. So think about the way to explain it would be when you're a kid, you're at school, or let's bring it back. When you're a kid, you play cowboys and Indians, you play cops and robbers. You became that. You were imagining what you wanted to be.
I was G.I. Joe.
We're G.I. Joe.
I was Nancy Drew. I wanted to be a detective.
There you go. But you felt that. It was real to you. You were that person. We go to school, we start to daydream, and we're sitting out the window, and the teacher says, "Stop daydreaming, pay attention."
Yeah.
It starts to get beat out of us. That imagination and that ability to think at a different level just gets tampered by our environment. So that's when I talk about, in the book, we talk about coming from your 5 senses, is because people are controlled by the media, the outside influences, your parents, your friends, school. They're all part of that. So that's kind of what we are starting to get people to understand. It's all about awareness. It's about
Yes.
understanding the power we truly have as human beings. We're not here to suffer. We're not here to
No,
have
we're
this.
not.
This is an
No.
abundant world. And that's
Yes.
what I try to teach.
It's like Joyce's book about abundance too, which you should definitely talk about again. But it really is true. We're not meant to be here just to barely get by. We're meant here to thrive.
Yeah.
Because what you focus on really does expand.
You become
so,
that. You
So
become what
if
you
you're
focus
always
on.
focused on the bad news and you speak with people, only speak of their problems, you start to,
The Charlie Brown thing or Linus.
Yeah.
wah,
With-
wah.
wah, 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 right? Yeah. And your book is just the opposite.
Yeah.
But tell us about the 12-step title. I mean,
Yes.
you're very, very
Is
transparent
this
about
a 12-step program that you then revised for everyone?
So let me
Since
take
I
you
don't
back a
have
little
your
bit
book
with that.
yet.
She's gonna remind me the whole show.
Oh, did I mention the fact that I got an advanced copy?
yeah, I think so.
I think twice now.
Gloating.
So I'll take you back a little bit and where I came from. So the book was kind of written from where I came from. So all of this started for me way back when I was 26 years old. And the book really is a culmination of the things that I've learned along the way since that time in my life. But it included a pretty dark time in my life, right? So I was mid-divorce. I had just come out of rehab. I had a 3-year-old daughter, but I made one decision. And I knew that one thing I wanted to be is I wanted to be a great dad over everything. I didn't want to be a good dad in recovery. I wanted to be a great dad. But what I realized at that time, and I didn't know it then that I know now because of what I know, it's easier to look back. Every decision I made from that point on was about being a great dad. So everything I did revolved around that. And it turned into different things. It turned into being that good dad. It turned into, okay, what did a great dad at that time have? I had horrible patience. I mean, I had no patience. But I knew that great dads had patience. So I had to learn that. And I had to teach that. And I had to learn that for myself. So as I started to go along, as things went, that was the sole thing. But what I teach people going through the book now, so with the recovery, I've got 36 years clean now. That's not really,
congratulations.
thank you. It's not really, it's where it came from. But what I realized along the way was it was part of my story. And I told you this when we spoke the other day. I had been working with clients and started to do this stuff. And back in 2006, there was a movie called The Secret. You ever hear that movie? Okay.
Are you kidding?
That was the start of it all for me. So from the point when I started to want to be a great dad, I hit that book. I started building businesses. I became a businessman, an entrepreneur, and those things. But that movie hit me. That hit me right there. Right?
Jim Carrey story.
Oh man.
Within there.
Oh, there's so many, and that's where I met my first mentor, Bob Proctor, who was one of the protagonists.
Sure.
Whatever it was about him, he just stood out for me.
Yeah.
And that simple concept, which is, it was about the law of attraction, right? Just simply that. The concept just resonated with me. I said, oh, if I could just start thinking nice things and good things will happen. That was really what it is. But it started to snowball for me at that point because I did it with my businesses. I taught it to my kids. I mean, everything was about, look, if you want something, think about it, focus on it, and act as if, and go get it. Right. I didn't really know what I was doing, but it was working, right?
Shameless audacity.
Yeah. And it was beautiful because I was able, as my kids grew up, I was able to help them get different jobs if they were looking in a different industry. We talked about coming from the having the job already, so you're going in with a different energy like we talked about. So all of it worked really well. And then about 2021, I reconnected with Bob Proctor. He was doing a 5-day Jumpstart the New Year event. So I went on it, and I realized that the law of attraction was like one law of many laws that govern the universe. And I also found out the law of attraction was the secondary to the law of vibration. That's a story for another show.
Story.
Right.
That's part 2.
Yes.
Yeah, part 2. But that was where I realized that was my calling. I knew at that point, this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Look, I used to joke to people. I'd say, I had businesses. I did a lot of things. I have 6 kids, so I provided and I did my thing. But I always would joke to people and say, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I would joke about that. And I was in my 50s. I honestly really didn't love what I did. I did it because it provided.
Yes.
And I did it because it was what it developed.
Didn't have the passion, right? Passion, yeah.
But once I took that course with him, everything changed. Wow. And I had no idea what it meant, but I knew that was my passion. I didn't know. I just knew I wanted to do this for the rest of my life.
I bet you could feel vibrating within you, right?
Oh, it was something I'd never felt in my whole life. And again, it was the whole, I had no idea what I was doing or how I was doing, but that was the part of what I started to learn. I took a 4-year deep dive. I studied every day. Like a scientist, I studied this stuff because I wanted to understand it at its core so I could teach it, right? If you want to learn something, you do it and you can be able to teach it.
And I really believe that so many times God will not promote you to the next level unless he really feels you're serious about it and he could trust you with what he's going to give you, looking at it from that spiritual aspect. And that's what you did. You told me a story about when you're thinking about selling your business and it happened within minutes. I was blown away by that. That was a divine, that was like a divine intervention.
Yeah. So now that goes, and that's a great story. I'm glad you reminded me of that. It was last year. Now I had been working at this thing. I built the company. I decided I'm going to do this. I'm going all in. I have no idea how it's going to happen. But I also learned with what I've been taught was you don't need to know the how. You just need to know that you want to do it.
Just believe.
The goal has to be big enough that you'll do what it takes to achieve it. Now, go back to the story about being a great dad. I didn't know what that meant. But now looking back, I can connect the dots because you can do that. That's what I was doing. I didn't know the how. I just knew to do the steps and the actions. Now, 2025, I'm sitting in an event with my mentor now, who was actually Bob Proctor's side. He was basically with him for 15 years. When Bob passed away, he went on his own. So I was at one of his events. And I'm just sitting there knowing this is what I want to do. But I had owned a few businesses at that point, and I'm like sort of half in, half out. I'm doing the coaching, I'm running the businesses, and I just decided I'm selling my business. That's it. I'm selling it. And 4 minutes later, no joke, Joyce, 4 minutes later, I got a text from this people that were kicking tires on that company 3 months prior and said, we're ready to move forward.
Wow.
So that was like,
When you told me that when we had coffee recently, that blew me away.
Yeah.
I said, wow, that's an angel message right
that
there.
is an
Yes.
angel
That's a
message.
kick in the butt message.
100%.
But that's how it works, though. And then
You
what I'm trying to teach
released
people
it.
that.
See, you surrendered at that moment, and that's when it was allowed to come into your life.
Right. And like you said, when you're ready, as they say that when you're ready, the messenger appears.
Right.
Same thing. When you really truly commit, and what I teach people is how to commit. Find that goal, find that thing that you want to do more than anything.
Yep.
You don't need to know the how. You just need to know that it excites you and scares you at the same time.
Yes.
That's important.
Yes.
So you're getting out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
But that's what it was and every time along the way, even to now, even this podcast turned out, was just making a decision and going forward and not having to worry about the how. I've turned the how over. It's not my decision. The problem was when I did, it was a lot harder. Right. See, we probably know some ways to get to your goal. You could think of it. But truly, God, the divine, whatever you want to talk about it, knows a million ways to get to what you want.
Yes.
And then when you learn to turn over the how and release it, those steps come to you. Those
And
serendipities.
keep your energy up. Stay positive. Stay happy about it. Right.
And God has unlimited resources in which to bless humankind.
Don't you think that's something
True.
that a lot of times, because fear can be a really big element. Like you mentioned, like then you have that passion and that fear comes in. And I think people, if they make the fear too big, they back off. And I think a lot of people do that because it feels uncomfortable. But it's okay to feel uncomfortable, right?
Absolutely.
That's where success lies, in
Yes.
the uncomfort zone.
Yeah. What's the adage? There's no growth in your comfort zone.
No, not at all.
You have to get uncomfortable. And the problem is most people aren't willing to get out of their comfort zone enough to do the things they really want to do. That's why I teach people how to find that thing. When I woke up, when I went to that thing and said, this is what I want to do, and part of that, where the book came from, I told John this, was I woke up one morning and a voice said to me, tell your story. Now, I had been working with people with the mindset stuff, but it wasn't until I got that message that I started realizing that I needed to talk to people for the path that I had walked, which was recovery. And that's where the book started to evolve and became part of it. Because I created a program. I work with clients one-on-one in some groups with that. But I realized I needed a better way to get to people and a bigger audience. And I wanted more people. I wanted the information to be in as many hands as I could. Because truth be told, the information in that book came through me. It wasn't from me. I mean, I sat down and allowed that to come through me.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it did. And that's why this book really was originally tailored for people in recovery. But it was not just for recovery. It's for
We're all at recovery.
anybody. Anybody in recovery. We're all in recovery, like you said.
Yes.
But the point of the book was it was created through the 12 steps of recovery. That's what I originally intended it. It follows the 12 steps of A. It takes one of their steps, which, look, I went to the meetings. They were great. They saved my life. And those steps were great. And they teach you how to change because it's about change.
Yes.
It's all about being somebody different because the identity of what got you to where you are is not the identity that's going to get you to the next level.
Right.
So I understood the steps. They made sense to me. But when I started to learn and understand mindset, suddenly I was able to apply a mindset principle to each step. So the book basically became a mindset principle for each of the 12 steps.
That basically amplified the steps.
Exactly. And goes deeper and gets a little bit better understanding of them. And then it gives you a couple action steps for each one of them.
Right.
So, and
That's what I love about your book. At the end of every chapter, there's a action section
Yes,
because you need to you do the same thing.
I wouldn't know that about his book.
Oh, because I was able to get his book ahead of time.
Yes.
Well, she did order your book ahead of time. She put it on my credit card.
Oh, okay. So that's now you're even. Now you're even.
Darn right I did.
But you must be so grateful considering from where you came from prior to the 12-step program to where you are now. It's like night and day. It's like a totally different person.
But if you didn't come from there, you wouldn't be able to pull this
exactly.
together.
The steps.
My gosh.
You know, it's that same idea that everything that's ever happened in your life has prepared you for the moment that you're in
Yes.
now.
It's a culmination.
It is. And most people don't realize, again, it goes back to what this book allows you to regain the power that most of us don't even realize that we have, or we may have at one point, but have forgotten. So it's an awakening to understand what we teach is you start to think from the inside out. We have God-given abilities. There's 6 higher faculties that no other animal in the animal kingdom have. One of them is our imagination. One of them is our intuition, that gut feeling we get. There's nobody else that has that. But we tend to forget. Like the third grader staring out the window that yelled at by the teacher. You forget that you have that imagination.
But too many times as we
Right.
get older, we stop dreaming.
Right.
And we settle.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the world beats you down so much. When you're a kid, 3 or 4 years old, I want to be a pro baseball player. Good, you could do it, you could do it. And then when you're 18, 19, 20, you got to get a real job.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Why does that happen?
Yes.
And that's it. And that's part of those outside influences that people tend to live from the 5 senses. You know, you're worried about what other people think, what other people say. You know, what are they going to do? Look, when I said to people, this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, I think half the people that knew me thought I was nuts, right?
And that's
'Cause
a
it
good
was-
thing. Yes.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. But it wasn't, it was a very left turn. But for me, it was just a culmination of the thinking process and the awakening of learning how to think in a certain way to create the things that you want and realize that you have the control. That's what we talked about with words are very powerful.
Yes.
People don't realize that the words you say can manifest things in your life.
What we say about ourselves is so important. When so many people say,
Yes.
like we said in the beginning of the show at the outset, if I can't. Well, why can't? Take the T out. There's no I can't, it's I can.
Right.
Right? You can do this. You do have the ability to do this. Most of us are so much more capable of what we're doing.
Or like
than
you
what we're doing
mentioned
now.
before, like what follows I am.
Yeah, what follows I am.
Right.
The 2
It's
most
so-
powerful words, I am, right?
Right. And how
people
many
don't
times
realize
you
that.
hear people say, I am sick and tired of this. I am.
No, I am
and it's-
worthy.
Oh,
I
and
am
I
worthy.
can feel it like
I am
hitting
successful.
my chest. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't
I am
say that.
talented. I am knowledgeable.
Yes.
I'm compassionate. I'm
I'm
empathetic.
good. I'm healthy.
I'm good. It's not
I'm
ego.
well.
It's
Yes.
who you are. That's who we are. All of us.
Right.
All of us.
We're meant to be this.
Yes.
Yeah, and that changes everything. And you talked about abundance, and you were talking about that. The thing that if you just stop and look, and just look around, it's an abundant universe. It's overflowing with everything. You know, the news and everybody wants to tell you there's lack and limitation and fear, but it's
Right.
not. So when you start to understand abundance and come from abundance, look, the universe doesn't really care what you want. It's just going to give you more of what you're thinking about most times,
Yes.
right? You are what you
That's-
think about.
Right.
So when you're
Right.
thinking abundance, the universe says, here's more abundance.
Right.
Right.
But if you're thinking lack, limitation, and fear, the universe says, here's more of that.
I am worthy. Money is flowing toward me. Health is flowing toward me. And there's
Yes.
nothing wrong with having more money in abundance because the more of that you have, the more you can bless other people.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's the way I look at it.
Exactly.
The more you can bless others.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Rick, I mean, everything that you're saying is just so powerful. Do you see people individually? Are you online as a coach?
Yeah. So I do see clients individually. Most of it's online now because people are all over and spread out. I work with anybody right now, anywhere in the United States. I can work with somebody via Zoom. I've got clients in Texas. I've got clients in California. I've got clients all over. So I do that.
Do you do
But
groups at all?
I do some groups. I like doing the groups better because there's a synergy when you put a bunch of people in a room.
The vibe. I love the vibe.
It really is.
I love the groups.
I work
too.
with
Yeah.
professionals, executives, business owners, partners, sober professionals, whatever they are. But when they're all in the room together and we're all working on a lesson together, there's a certain part of that synergy that comes through. So my real favorite is doing the groups and doing, groups of 5 to 10 at a time are really a lot of fun.
Yeah. So do you work with like Bob Proctor's son at all, like within their organization?
So I know of Bob Proctor's son. I actually followed him for a while after Bob passed away. That organization I got certified with his company, Proctor Gallagher
see.
Institute.
Okay.
So I was a certified coach for them,
Right.
a certified consultant, they called me.
Okay.
But
Well, I'm certifiable.
Yes.
That's a different.
Did Patty give you that title?
Yeah, my wife gave me that title. Hey, babe,
Got
thanks.
a card, right? You guys see that?
Talking about what we say over ourselves.
But that was the first thing I did when I started getting going, and this was working with them. But since Bob passed, things changed, and my mentor now that I work with has a new company, and he basically takes the same philosophy, but he's gotten much more modern on it, and he takes it to a whole nother level. So it really helping me help more people that way.
Yeah.
I just love the fact that you've taken your adversity and turned it into a positive to help so many other people.
Powerful.
It really is powerful. And the thing is, you're doing this because you love it.
Oh yeah.
You love it. I can just sense the
Yeah.
passion. And just knowing you as long as I have right now, every single time I've seen you, you've always been upbeat, and you're always asking about how I can help people, how I can pay people. And that says a lot about the kind of person you are.
That's been the biggest thing for me. My whole life, I realized every job I've ever had was helping people. When whatever it was. So this was like the pinnacle of it. This is the highest form to me to helping people, because I can help so many people, and the book can help a lot more people. And if people wanted to get a hold of me and work with me after that, that's fine. But getting them to understand and work the principles, it can change so many lives. And that's the wonderful part of that. That's what fuels me now.
You know what really appealed to me the most out of this whole get-together with you? When you said you wanted to be a great dad.
Yes. I was going to say that.
Stuck out. The minute you said that, I said, yes.
And you were in your 20s when you said that.
Yeah.
You didn't know how to navigate that,
No
but
clue.
you knew it.
You don't have to know the how.
Knew it,
I
right.
didn't- and that was the thing. I didn't really know the how, but I knew that following the excitement, following the passion, and getting into action. Look, it's wonderful to want to be something. It's wonderful to want to do something. But if you don't make, one, a decision to do it, and B, get into action.
Yeah.
Most
Right.
people just don't, because of what you were talking about before, fear. People get stuck in that. And this work that I do is empowering people to get away from fear and understanding how that is. Because it's just about the old, like I call it the old version of you. When I work with somebody, we talk about who you are, where you're at. If you're not happy with your life, this is your old version. Then we start to envision what that version of you is. Who do you want to be? What do you want to be like? For me, it was a coach. At the time I wanted to be a coach, I wanted to work with people, and I wanted to work with as many clients as I could. And I saw that. But coming from that, now you start to make decisions from the person that you want to be, not the person that you are.
Yep.
So it's about, creation. We can get a little crazy on that, but creation happens twice, right? In the world, it happens once in your imagination, in your mind, and two in reality, right? And Thomas Edison created a light bulb. It was in here first,
Yep.
and then it's up there next.
Right.
The Wright brothers, two bicycle mechanics,
Right.
made a plane.
It's like
And
it's like Walt Disney. If you could dream it, you can do it.
Exactly.
Yes. And if they all stopped at the point where they got afraid, it wouldn't have happened. They just kept going.
I said
Exactly.
Ben Franklin. Every time he failed, he said, "I just found another way not to do it."
What a mind he had.
What a mind he had. He was amazing. He really was.
Exactly. But what we teach is, if you can imagine, use your imagination to see the person that you want to be, then it's already created.
Right, yeah.
So it's not
Yes.
about going towards things. Again, we talk about energy and vibration. You want to know that it's already created. So you're coming from it, not going to it.
Yeah.
Because remember, going to things is you're chasing it, right? So the energy and vibration is always wanting, getting, chasing. But if you come from it, so we teach people to envision what that person is. Who is that person that you want to be? What does he look like? What does he say? And start to make decisions today as that person. Like I did when I was a kid. I wanted to be a great dad, so I made decisions as him. I didn't know what he was. I just knew that's what I wanted. Same thing now. I teach people, come from that. So you make decisions from that. So you start to understand that fear and that lack and the procrastination comes from that old version. So if you're coming from that future version, you're now saying, what would he do? What would she do?
Right.
And then you make decisions from there. If it's something they would do, you do it.
Rick, tell us about your book again. Title?
So the book's 12 Steps to Transformation. It is available for Pre-order.
Unless you get an advanced copy ahead of time.
Pre-order on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And I've actually been, you know, Amazon, the algorithm. So for me, it's about reach. And what I found is if I can get enough people to pre-order this book, it'll trigger the algorithm with Amazon, who will show it to way more people who want it.
Yes.
And suddenly it opens up a market that I certainly could never do on my own. And then they even go one step further and they start to suggest it.
Yes.
So it was really,
That's
it's
smart.
a real, passion for me now to try to get it into many hands. So the algorithm can awaken and people can actually get the book in their hands. So
When's the book, the drop date?
September 8th,
September the 8th.
unless you're John
That's right.
or Joyce.
Rick, this has been a blast hanging out.
Thank
I
you.
love this.
And the
Josh.
name of your
Thank
business
you.
once again?
It's Amplified Mindset Consulting.
How do we get in touch with you directly if we want some coaching?
You can see I'm on LinkedIn. You can reach me there, or you can go to amplifiedmindset.com, which is my website, and you can reach me through there. My phone number is there as well.
Well, lots of love to you and your family. Thanks
Thank
for all
you.
the people that you've touched and connected with and will continue to do in the future.
Thank you.
You've been a great guest. You're a great dad. I know that.
Thanks,
This
guys.
was
This
so
was
much
a lot of fun.
Thanks, Rick.
Really.
I want more.
We'll do another episode.
Yeah.
There might be a part 2 to talk about vibration. We talked
There
about
we go.
before. The good
We'll go deep
vibration.
with Joyce.
Beach Boys. All right.
When she has her copy.
When I have my copy.
That's right.
Yes.
So thank you so much for tuning in to What's Good with John and Joyce. Whether you watch it, whether you just listen to it, or both, we appreciate you. Make sure that you sign up on YouTube. It's free. Like it and share it with everybody you know who needs good news and wants to be a better person. And that's where Rick comes in as well. And until next time, God bless you and your family, and we appreciate you.
I love you.
Bye.
for now.
Hey, I heard you got engaged. Congratulations. Now it's time to book the DJ. And that's where we come in. I'm John Cadillac Seville with John Seville Entertainment, Wedding Wire, and the Knot 2026 Couples Choice Awards winner. You can call me directly if you'd like at 203-988-0658. We'll set up your free consultation. Or go to johncaddyman.com. That's 203-988-0658 or johncaddyman.com. We offer excellence, peace of mind, and a great time for all. John Seville Entertainment, a name you know and can trust.